What an extraordinary credibility you have to report something that's legitimately shocking, something that doesn't have a precedent at that position in the sport, and yet no one questioned it because Adam Schefter was the one reporting it. How much fear did you have, Adam? Thank you, and congratulations on the story, even though I know you've come under some criticism for sort of ruining the way Andrew Luck wanted to do this. But take us through the steps here, and how much fear was there for you as you're reporting something before you can know it's true?
Well, first of all, let me say this. It's a sad story. It's a shocking story. It's a sad story because you've got a player who's about to turn 30 years old in the prime of his career, who's great for the Colts, who's great for Indianapolis, who's great for the National Football League, walk away prematurely because he was so worn down by everything that he had been through the previous year. So from that standpoint, there's zero joy taken in seeing a great player leave the game. Let me say that at the outset. From a story standpoint, when the calls start coming in and you're getting information, in all honesty, at first, I, like others, could not believe it. It was hard to process getting the information. And again, you mentioned the criticism, which we could address then, and we will, but right after the initial information was filed to the ESPN news desk and then put on social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram, the first text I got was from Matthew Hasselbeck, and the texts were pouring in, and the reactions in the text were the exact same every time. Were you hacked? Is this true? Is this real? You're a liar. 30 texts. I literally could not speak without my phone buzzing in my ear. And one of the texts, one of the very first texts was from Matthew Hasselbeck. And he said to me, "Are you sure?" And I texted back, "Yes." And he said, "I don't know about that." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I spoke to Andrew yesterday and today, and he never mentioned anything to me." And so when Andrew Luck's friend, Matthew Hasselbeck, who was in Indianapolis, by the way, Friday and Saturday, and was his teammate and his backup quarterback, texts me asking if I'm right, I will say for a moment that made me a little bit uneasy because you never know if somebody changes their mind, if things are altered, did somebody pull a prank on you? I think there's a lot of things you wonder when somebody like Matthew is close to the situation says, "Are you sure about it?" So that gave me a little bit of pause. I will say that. But again, the information that came in was credible, believable, plausible, checked out, too detailed to ignore. And so the information was put out. Now, again, to that criticism you're talking about, Dan, I appreciate that everybody's upset about that. I'll just say this, that number one, that's my job. My job is to get information and report information. Number two, what's shocking to me is that the information didn't come out sooner. And honestly, I feel bad that it took as long as it did to get the information out. And there were people in the Colts organization that knew during the week. There were players that were told Thursday. There were players that were told Friday. There were players who knew. The owner knew. The GM knew. The head coach knew. Teammates knew. And I remember back when I was in Denver and the Broncos traded for John Elway. And they said, "We're going to hold off the announcement." And the PR director, the great PR director, Jim Sacamano, said, "Well, have you told anyone?" They said, "The only people who know in this room are these three people." And he said, "Well, three people know? You don't stand a very good chance of having this hold up." And in this day and age, when that many people knew, it's surprising it didn't get sooner. Beyond that, the Colts, had a decision to make. They could have announced it Thursday. They considered announcing it Friday. They were going to have a press conference on Friday. For reasons I'm not familiar with, they decided to make it Sunday at 3 p.m. I don't know why they did that. They had the decision. They made their choice.
Biggest story of your career, yes or no?
I don't think like that, Dan.
That's not a yes or no answer.
It was just another story for him, Dan. Just another day in the life of Schefter.
What do you mean you don't think in those terms? I'm asking you to think in those terms, like in terms of news you've broken that's been most shocking, most yours, most exclusive. This has to be, no?
if you say that, that's fine. I don't think like that. I just think, again, somebody's coming after me today on another story, and there's other information and trades out there to go get.
Adam, how surprised were you by the Colts fans' reaction as Andrew Luck left the field?
Well, it was very surprising. Again, and it was hard for me. I don't know where the game's at. I'm at a birthday dinner. My mother-in-law was turning 75 that night. It was a surprise birthday dinner. Like I said, I'm between the bruschetta and the penne alla vodka when the information's flowing in.
Nice.
And I found, do you think I'm keeping up with what? Oh, there's 12 minutes. I don't know. So, again, I'm calling around. I'm confirming. I'm missing a part of the dinner. And then when I get the information, I don't care where the game's at. I file the information. And so all of a sudden people are texting me, oh, the game. I didn't even know what part the game was in. People said, they're booing them. Like, I'm getting play-by-play from people outside while I'm in this restaurant in Piermont, New York, in some back room at a 75th surprise birthday dinner. I had no idea where everything was at.
Does your family understand, or how does that work?
Well, this was a strange one because literally my daughter had my other phone. So she's like getting all these texts, and the waiters and busboys are running over to me. Did you just report that Andrew Luck retired? Is it true? People in the restaurant. It was a surreal scene, just like it was a surreal scene in Indianapolis.
Adam, I'm wondering, have you heard from Andrew Luck?
I have not heard from Andrew Luck.
Adam, is there a oops, I changed my mind possibility here? Because it seems to me that, it wouldn't shock me if in the middle of the season he's like, I feel great, I'm coming back. Is that even a possibility, do you think?
Well, not this season. I mean, they put him on the reserve retired list, so he's out for the year. He cannot play this year. That is absolutely impossible. Could he come back another year, next year, the year after? I mean, it's possible. Sure. Anybody could. How long did the talk about Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson coming back continue on for? And it will go on with him. But here's the thing about Andrew Luck is that he's such a smart guy. He's such a thoughtful guy. He's such a unique guy that you can't predict how a guy like this is going to act. Like, I think he's going to go traveling Europe and disappear and go read books and do a lot of soul searching and be very introspective and thoughtful. And I don't know how that's going to impact him and what he's going to be thinking a year from now, 2 years from now, whether he's going to miss football, not miss football. Nobody could say that. Is the possibility of him coming back out? Yeah, sure. It's always possible. How long does that follow any great player who leaves the game in the prime of his career? Because fans want to see that guy back. Everybody wants to go see him play again. But it's impossible to say whether he actually will.
Adam, why do you think the Colts let him keep all the money?
Well, number one, that man gave his body and mind for that franchise for 6 years. He got abused. Number two, I think they recognize everything he did, everything he is. And let's also be honest, I think there's that skeptical part that people think in the back of their minds, as other teams have suggested, and they want to keep alive the idea that if and when he does decide, I do want to come back, they'd like there to be a good relationship there and keep that possibility alive if he decides to go that route, right? Like if a team says, hey, keep that $28.4 million, including the $12 million in roster bonuses we paid you this winter, you're probably going to feel pretty good about that team.
Adam, I wonder if the NFL should be concerned that we're going to see more and more of this where, guys are content with fairly short careers.
$2. Go ahead.
And get out.
$2.
Get out with their health intact.
$2. You can't do that into the microphone that disgustingly.
Does Adam want to answer that? Did he
no, don't
understand
even
it?
ignore him.
Let me say this. Let me balance out the fun because it's a great question.
Thank you, Adam.
And,
Wow.
Just pay the $2.
I'm glad you heard it. Despite
$5 fine for you. I mean, Dan.
I was on the phone with a coach at about 5:30 this morning, and the coach was saying that yesterday he was talking to some people in his organization, and that was a topic of conversation that had come up among people within this particular organization that we've seen Andrew Luck do this. We've seen other players do this. I mean, look at all the young players that have walked away from the game in recent years, and it seems to be growing.
Adam, thank you for being on with us.